begin the Tibet Fest program, our co-hosts, Seattle Center, and the City of Seattle would like to share a greeting with all viewers. We are pleased to introduce Robert Neelams, Director of Seattle Center, and Jenny Durkan, Mayor of Seattle.
Hello, and welcome to Tibet Fest, presented virtually this weekend. Even though the festival is not in person, I want to acknowledge that Seattle Center, where Tibet Fest is normally presented, is on indigenous land, the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people. This acknowledgement reminds us to strive for respectful partnerships with all people as we search for collective healing. Tibet Fest is part of Seattle Center Festall, a series of 24 ethnic cultural festivals presented throughout the year by community organizations in partnership with Seattle Center. The festival theme for 2020, Where Seattle Comes Together, highlights the pride people have when they come together to express themselves, where they can share their stories with the greater community, and where everyone can feel a sense of belonging. This year marks the 25th anniversary of Tibet Fest. Festival organizers seek to use the weekend to create better understanding and showcase the unique Tibetan history, arts and culture with the greater community, and to celebrate their cultural roots with younger generations of Tibetan Americans. The Tibetan Association of Washington has been busy planning this virtual celebration. The weekend features traditional and contemporary music and dance, conversations with Tibetan artists and poets, highlights on Tibetan food and textiles, and much, much more. I hope you enjoy what the organizers and volunteers have put together. Peace and good health to you from Seattle Center.
Seattle is so proud to have nourished and supported Seattle Center Festall over 23 years. As a civic cultural series, Festall is unique in the world, bringing together organizations from diverse cultural communities to share their arts, heritage, and creative contributions with Seattle residents and visitors alike. The festivals provide a space for cultural communities to bring their own people together and a place to share their stories with the greater community. These cultural celebrations are especially important during these challenging times. The shared experiences they offer integrate us all during this period of isolation. They ground our greater community in the history and heritage of these distinct cultures, yet they also demonstrate our commonalities, and they give us hope. Many of the communities represented in Festall series are disproportionately affected by this pandemic. Through hate crimes, struggling small businesses, and higher risk factors affecting the communities most impacted by systemic oppressions, I wish the artists, volunteers, vendors, and communities who bring Seattle Center Festall to the greater community the best as they venture into the virtual world. And I look forward to the day we can all gather again together to celebrate the diverse and dynamic cultures who contribute in so many ways to the vitality and economy of our great city. Enjoy yourselves. This year marks the 25th anniversary of Tibet Fest. This annual festival showcases Tibetan arts and culture through traditional and contemporary arts and performances. I hope you enjoy learning more about the ancient culture at Tibet Fest.
Tashi Delek, and good morning. Welcome to Tibet Fest. My name is Tenzin Chopel, and I'm one of the MCs for this event. I'm joined by Tsering Dachung, who is the MC in Tibetan. On behalf of the Tibetan Association of Washington, I'd like to welcome you to the 25th anniversary of Tibet Fest. This year marks a special occasion as it's the silver jubilee of this event. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we can't host a live event at the Seattle Center this year, but we can host a virtual one on our YouTube page, Facebook, and on the Seattle Center website. So welcome. For those of you watching all across the world or on our social media channels, thank you so much for tuning in. We have an exciting program for you filled with performances, artist interviews, textile programs, songs, and much, much more. We would like to note that many of the performances that you will see today were pre-recorded in late July and early August due to Washington State guidelines. However, all the performances, interviews, and segments that you'll see today are specifically for the Tibet Fest program.
Washington Puri Jidu Sope Sapshude Puri Tude Tengni Sanga La Pepe Mima Yongla Kasuta Samti Tashle Shugi Puri Tude Tomar Chilo Chiton Gupta Gupchu Gonga Unzu Nane Tapar Milo Nisenga Ribo Korgi Lotini Mixeta Kebar Chengi Lo Silver Jubilee Loshi Chagi Yuenkan Tab Malek Bashila Gyanan Ne Chungwe Toyip Nyerim Di Gunze La Dene Manzo Talo Begi Tude Tegarla Seattle Center Tuzom Chetu Me Ine Ya Talo Begi Tude Seattle Center Ki Chazita Ngodup Ta YouTube Gune Tegar Situki Tari Sheta Shabro Siba Nam Nguen Dawa Dumbane Uti Shu Simba Shire Teya Washington Tudin Ki Lamdundar Naware Tete Chaptun Bangali Lava Shechik Na Nyamshu Chimitu Chame Tari Chaptun Ta Chiwatile Siwa Nam Mixeki Tari Pyogi Tudun Cheduyi Tesonza Chame Rara Sosyo Kimla Shune Tu Chobyo Zirona Teta Nyamdo Seattle Center Ki Tungyu Rogram Tapar Nawala Ning Tapane Tujiche Temi Ngansu Pyogi Tudun Tindashi Goti Shu Tuptap Meba Sonza Puri Jidu Chopata Sane Pemi Yonki City of Seattle Ta For Culture Teshintu Art Funds Ki Gyabgyo Ta Benjo Roram Nawa Jesu Iranta Tujiche Shu Mase Captain Nankinki Jinda Yongla Shindu Tujiche Shu.
Now, Tibet Fest wouldn't be possible without the various organizations, businesses, and community members involved. We'd like to acknowledge our presenting partners, Seattle Center Festal, Art Fund, For Culture, for their amazing support. And we'd also like to thank our platinum and gold sponsors for making Tibet Fest possible. So thank you to our supporters and sponsors. It's because of your vision and initiative that you've given us, our community, another platform for diversity to thrive, which makes our city unique. And it's why we have much pride in calling Seattle our home. So over the course of this weekend, we're hopeful that we're able to entertain, educate, and empower everyone with the arts and culture of Tibet. Let's begin by respectfully acknowledging and recognizing the ancestral lands that we inhabit in Seattle, as we read to you the Native Land Acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the territory in which we gather for Tibet Fest at Seattle Center. As the ancestral homelands of the coastal Salish people, this acknowledgement reminds us to strive for the respectful partnerships with all people as we search for collective healing.
Seattle ki keje chesheni miri yarme chulu yarme ki tone Sikyong nangi yobe nganzui gabib chembyo ngane Seattle chongketi nganzui nang inshi jejo. Nganzui rewala dunja ti na pyoge rikshun ta pyoge lukse sambun namla mimane tonan ta koto saba pebam tula nyebe redu shugiyo. Toma kume kushab chembyo ngane sane Seattle ki niyu mebe tamban namla jeten ta Wenzingi kor tongsam shu choba shu. Taringi tegar sane Seattle la pyoge tude sungsi shu sa tini Salish ni mebe tambe sane himbar wenjin ta ning takpa ne kudu shugiyo. Te ije so sanju lobtu ne pyoge gap chimbe gyalu ta ari gyalu tongyu yinbe changme nyamshu naro na tuche la.
Thank you, children. And now I'd like to introduce to you the president of the Tibetan Association of Washington, Tenzin Topchen, who will be giving the opening remarks for Tibet Fest. The floor is yours, Topchen La.
Sanju lobte lobtu namla tujiche. Te ije peri chidin tsokpe tsokso tenzi Topchen la zego unchegi sungshe naro na shugu.
Tashi Delek, tenzi Topchen yi, an tarin Washington peri chidin tsokpa Seattle peri magi tsab shune, an tarin tarye kyune peri tujen tenyi senga ba singit namba tsangmala samdi Tashi Delek shuen yi. An chilo chikdong gupju kongan chine gozu ne Washington peri chidin tsokpa gi Seattle Center yendo nyamshu chene, ani lodar peri tujen shebegi, ani sanju yi nyamzom di lo nisabshi jiringa tsoda tsoshin bare ra. 아니 nganzo yeda pyoge tujengi nyamzom di gyune Seattle gi thongge da Seattle gi mimala pyoge tumo moyin be chue da rikshung ke yi pyobe ngo di demdun che gi dingja yakbu ji da ani kogap sangbo chi thonggo dura 아니 로달 냠좀도 균형 아두기 세라날 유베기 초박하 망보심도 대화 사와 쇠다 대신 대화 유여바디 대화 슉체로 따야기에 고급 상보 차이도 아니 개체주들라는 아주 벽이 두전 냠좀도 균에 아니 아리나 살롱체베 베베 나슈엔딘돌라 아니 벽이 두전 값소리 흉탑된다 흉 댐된기 나라 냠슈체네 소소셈 나라 베베기 ngo다 베바인베기 시행고다 뽑아디 깨토에 고급 상보 통고도 달로 딱 말렉바실라 코비드19 기 아니 내염디 잠리 요알 캬베 깽기 단 냠좀 슉첨부지 체메드 안 달로 벽이 두전 로고니 생각바디 간조기다 자격균에 식비슈에기다 타조 중화래라 단호 벽이 두전디 당한주기 자격균에 식비슈에기 고급데 심네 아니 달로 지단기다 흉 탑던 적보미 만냠도 닌 통과시지 균에 간조기다 땡산 베베 나슈엔기 규제와다 아니 탑던 바 대신 아니 냥아 킹냠도 아니 디워틸렌다 코란주기 레가 된 상한주기 식비슈에다 냠도 아니 베베기 세기 뎀도기 식비에 슈엔이스 단다 달로 벽이 두전기 땡이 생각하고 코르베기니 자격이 생모디다 대신 대별로니 삽시 나올라 아니 시애틀 센터도 벽이 두전 냠좀기 중앙디 시애틀 센터기 거딘레 달로도 부차샤웨는 아주기 탑된 발라니 메코홀 야오 저우지네레 아주기다 벽이 두전기 제고딜라 로그램 하자나와다 시애틀 센터 거딘 침보체 시애틀 센터로 토지 최슈엔이 한 대단 첩직 아니 아주기 달로 벽이 두전라 변조기 개변당에 킹 카운티 포 컬처 다 아츠 펀드레 한 코라졸레 토지 최슈엔이 한 지단에 알아주기다 촉발라 개변당에 기 촉박하신 바 이내레 총박하 이내레 대신 강사 개변당에 창물라 닝탁번 토지 최슈엔라 한 타마델라다 달로 벽이 두전라 냠슈난 얘기 규제와타 탑된 바 대신 아니 뷰이 산줄랍르기 겐짐 게게 아니 롭도 파마 대신 아주 지든 속박이 균레 남바다 당라 창막이 달로 벽이 두전라 냠슈난 와다니 꿀레 후르다 경화델라 닝탁번 토지 최슈엔이 아니 송다당 얘기 레발라 달로 벽이 두전디 아니 자격균이 생계 창마 녀오 용에 레바 슈규 토지체 Tashi Delek, my name is Ngodup Tsering, and on behalf of the Tibetan Association of Washington and the Tibetan community in the Greater Puget Sound region, it is my honor to welcome you all to join us in the virtual celebration of the 25th anniversary of Tibet Fest. For the past 24 years, Tibetan Association of Washington, along with the collaboration with Seattle Center, has brought together many facets of our unique cultural, language, and identity through arts, exhibition, and crafts at Tibet Fest. With this annual gathering, our aspiration is to build and foster strong relation with the local Seattle community at large. This event is also a space for the younger generation of Tibetan Americans to learn and find grounding in their cultural roots and also engage with contemporary art practices. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the restriction on social gathering at this time, we opted to celebrate Tibet Fest virtually this year. We've been very intentional with curating our virtual festival this year to feature an entirely new content, from our favorite traditional performances to critical conversation on contemporary Tibetan theater, poetry, and the performing art, and last but not least, featuring delicious Tibetan food. This celebration of 25th Tibet Fest would not have been possible without our co-producers, the Seattle Center, and the production staff at McCaw Hall, and the generous grant we received from King County Folk Cultures and Arts Funds. A special thank you to all our supporters, especially the small businesses. And finally, I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to all the performers, artists, the Tibetan Language and Culture School staff, parents, students, the TAW board members, and our volunteers who, despite the current situation, have been so willing to put on a virtual celebration for all of us to enjoy. And finally, to our longtime friend and photographer, Kurt Smith, a big thank you. I hope you will enjoy the celebration of the 25th anniversary of Tibet Fest. And now, a special message from Dr. Lobsang Sangay, the President of the Central Tibetan Administration.
Hello, Tishle. I want to congratulate the organizers of the Tibet Fest because this year marks the 25th anniversary. And to start anything is difficult. To sustain it for 25 years is a major achievement. So congratulations to the Tibetan Association of Washington. You all have put in a lot of efforts from day one till now. And having participated in some of the events there at the Tibet Fest, I know for a fact that it's a festive event where people from all over come and witness the rich civilization, culture, and identity of the Tibetan people. And I've seen young children, wearing traditional dress and performing with pride. This creates an sense of Tibetan identity and inculcates in them a Tibetanness, which is very important. And politically, I've seen the vice governor and the mayor of Seattle come to the event. So all this sends a right message for the Tibetan cause. So keep up the good work. Once again, congratulations on the 25th anniversary of the Tibet Fest. So soon, I hope to be at Seattle and once again participate at the Tibet Fest. Thank you.
Thank you, Topchen La, and thank you to Dr. Lobsang Sangay for his special greetings from himself and the Central Tibetan Administration. This year, on July 6th, marked the 85th birthday of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, the beloved spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. The Central Tibetan Administration has marked 2020 as a year of gratitude for His Holiness. The Tibetan Association of Washington, along with members of our community, would like to thank His Holiness for his tireless and outstanding contributions to the Tibetan people and cause in this video.
Sane Tsongso Tenzi Topchen La Tuchena, Teda Upimi Jikzuki, Sikyong Dr. Lobsang Sangay La Chola, Tsamti Sungshe Nawala, Tuje Lake Bushu. Loti Dawa Dumbe Tse Jugla, Pyogi Lana Mebe Uti, Chino Kongsan Kyamgen Chumbe Cho, Kongtang Geju Kyanga La Pepper, Sencho Upimi Jikzuki, Lotini, Kongsan Chola, Gadin Jetengi Lo, Sungsi Shugi Yobe, Tegar Washington Puri Jitu Tsokpata, Sane Pimi Yone, Kongsan Chola, Kusum Kuba Chumbe Kujata, Yangu Pumirita, Zadun Kichedo, Kungata, Sigon Nawa Nam, Tu Tao to Semla Jagde, Kasun Chirupla, Puzun Nangroje, Pugishugu.
Nimila Tins Dobjen yi nga tanda Seattle ki puri chidun tsokpa ki tsokso yi an tarin ki nimo di nganzo ki tak kundu ngolo keju genga pebe gadwen ki nimo chunga nimo di sungsi shuyu an tarin ki nimo changgo di ki kogab di tsab shu ne Tibetan to la da kulyo kyong bada puri lobdu ngaran tabu doji tanda bado ani Sikyong chitu wada ani pyogi di shungda geyi di tanda larso chitu egi ani kulyo kyong bada da ani ying takpa ne tochi che shuyu yi ani kale mutu ne ani nang tuwa yi rewa yu shuyu yi
Tashi Delek. Lau ngai ming ma tham ji lai ye nga Seattle ni te ye antin kam kun jing kong lu ge ji thanga phewe kong ge thunga la ngan te ba le ye pyo sa ne ge ti ge changma ka ga tho tho chin ta shi lu le ta ji ye ani phimi changma la kong thu to bu nang ye ge ti kong ge yen ma lap cha khat sungwa ti thu le sha ro ji ti chi ku shwe yin ti lang shwe me Tashi Delek.
Tashi Delek Ninding La Kangla Yi Nga Sierra La Degi Ani Kongsa Cho Chungwa La Tashi Delek Kogelo.
Tashi Delek Nga Zute Daring Seattle Ki Karki Pala Yu Dari Sokpe Ki Yukundi Gonglo Yachi Kenga La Pepe Ani Tende Zego Da Chani Di Karso Da Yaji Sigur Wata Toji Tangu Yu Ani Da Jitang Aram Same Kense Re 다 간다 나란솔 벽화와 진기 아니 종라야 다 간다 생제 자미기 이런 나란솔 개가 이동어디 센터 체외 쉬고라 담고 아니 베데 달라라마 군디 주시벨레 카딩 체워지다 수강 중요 말에 간지 미디나 디송다 다른 군디 주시바 쳔비기 아니 그 아니 디 중가라야 아니 간지 이게 툭지 카딩 제덴다 아니 비게 문에 전에 비게 cutting some shake to na tu beta kanda molam japse kundi be kuze tembata ene thuji ene shegong thamche ene be bemen hundu yonga ene mendu shugu ye ene chida nga same chense re kanda kundi gi ta kanda nga chu nga gu lone chene ma zenje jaga zenje le pene ene be mesre zeba lapchi mangbu zere 가르지아르스는 시작하 되게 두대래 시작하 수두네 난지 직중 추다 직중 되게디 아니 피게지 미냠 공부에 냠발라서도 체네 디 진경 토가지 중 계진 직기 중어래 계진 뉴스 랍프카 투니 나도 페벨랍도 수도 투제 나란도 직중다 게이 되게디 진지 제투어래 디 내가 전부 차대래 아니 피게 시작하라 댄서숨 쇠백 아니 피게지 갈수록 나란도다 근데 망보지 두수 살주나지 nganzu chöda de shu chang 비게 진진 제토와 데 제가 친구 했습니다. 그들은 돌아인 비나다 간다 간도 간다 계지 낭라야 간도 벽이 된다디 셀라 계지기 내드지다 대와 차대 디송자 디게도 참 담고 rumbo칭 툭치 커팅 툭치 요새 콩게 배데 투지 실업을 되네 난 참아 대충으로 시송자 간도 참매 아니 담고 달래라면 군딩 버 찝시 쳔비데 아니 커팅기 남이야 마지부제 셈나라 샤제 아니 콩게 까카리 나나 까순 치툭 쉐 페미스리 개심보레 셈고도 아니 타시 델레요 참아도 그잖아.
My name is Kungaruma. Happy birthday, Your Holiness. Thank you for everything.
Tastele ani nga tinji monge dong to in Seattle ne ani thanda de tanga chamade kundu chunga khonglo ge juke nga ge de som de re ani de ge nga cho chama ge ne ani melam yos kundu tsering bu shwe da na chama yo tastele yos.
Happy birthday, Lama, His Holiness.
kundu chunga 85 ka Tashi Delek da ni ko se ko yo temge yo ani nga se ara de yo nga min sonam ra bien yi
an yeming nam ge yin an Seattle sanen shu ye an trin yarmu che ku chunga ni model ya ani samri tashle shu yin ani ta thajap konglok ge ju gen abu to yarmu che gi pe chi de tandal ya ani kone chi kule khang ke ba thamme ke ba de ya ani puchana chi shu yin puchana
Happy birthday. Ani ku September show. Ani ngandu malam kyabge.
nyiming la Tashi Delek la ye ani de sane ngazu sane Seattle ne ani tari ani mixe gi jawa tenzi jazo demi shije ni uti ani tari gongda jeju gela la phebe gi thunga la ani samdi shuye ani che kuze 도시다 때네 아주 별이 용라 아니 둘이 질럽 나오는 시고요 그지잖아.
Your Holiness, my name is Kurt. I'm a photographer. I photographed the Tibetan community in Seattle. I was in New York for your 80th birthday, and we rode an elevator together, and you blessed me on my little bald head. Happy birthday.
Tashi Delek, His Holiness, I wish you a happy 85th birthday. Thank you for everything that you've done for us, and wish you many more happy birthdays.
카메라웨고의 신감수 편한데 엄마리 주는 지레스 원데지가 저 샤베 세리버도 땡기지 Tashi Delek 미민 캔라비 나시알네 덴치 페리지 아니 다트링 지납된베 체초 분유콩 공덕이 지행 앞에 꾸이 총각이 님한테 참으로 원에 Tashi Delek 시셔이 분유콩 네메 세린 유릉군 네트워당 잠불링기 조티 무트네 나트베 멜람 칸에 강망무시카인 Tashi Delek 고네 치나.
Thank you to Tile Dorji for editing and producing that video. It's so great to hear from so many of our community members about why they truly cherish His Holiness. Without his contributions, many of us wouldn't be in the United States, including myself. Next up, we have another greeting from a distinguished member of the Tibetan community. It's my honor to introduce to you Ngodup Tsering, who holds the title as Tibetan Representative of North America with the Office of Tibet.
공사초기 투지 야직라 때네 먼저 배민남 대걸 아리라 랩톱 중요 투지 셰슈 공사초 구제 샤베 땡지 투기 샨델링기 두베 멘두슈 대이제소 아리 벽이 된주 칸기 공공을 질라기 갈롭 거딘 세규이
Tashi Delek, President of Chenla and board members of Tibetan Association Seattle. I'm glad that you have decided to organize Tibet Fest this year virtually due to pandemic. It is very important for all of us to tell our stories as to who we are, why we are here, and what is happening back in our country, Tibet. The events like Tibet Fest are critical to create such awareness. It also enables our younger generations to learn and embrace our culture, language, and identity. Therefore, on this important occasion, I bring best wishes to you and the board members and Tibetan community on behalf of Office of Tibet. Thank you, Tukji Che.
Thank you, Ngodup Tsering. And now we have a special message from a dear friend of the Seattle Tibetan community. It's our very own U.S. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, U.S. House Representative of Washington's 7th Congressional District.
Kusap tenjo ngursila tuchena tene tari nganzo sane Seattle ki ngade Washington ki ari shunki chozo tumi cham Pamela Jayapal chogi katin sungshe nangyu.
Tashi Delek, and hello everyone. I'm Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, and I'm proud to represent Washington's 7th Congressional District. Though I wish I were able to celebrate with you in person, I'm honored to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Tibet Fest on its 25th anniversary. Every year, Tibet Fest celebrates rich traditions in music, dance, food, and more. I know that this year is a bit different, but in hard times, it's especially important to reflect and to celebrate. I am so inspired by the hard work being done here in Seattle by the Tibetan Association of Washington and the Tibetan Language and Culture School to preserve and pass down the Tibetan language and culture to younger generations. China's authoritarian oppression of Tibetans is a travesty that must be ended and atoned for in the struggle for global justice, and it makes what you are doing here especially significant. In 2017, I was able to travel to Dharamsala as part of a congressional delegation. While we were there, I had the greatest honor of meeting His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Sikyong, the president of the Tibetan government in exile. Having the opportunity to meet these leaders and witness the Central Tibetan Administration in action has informed and inspired my advocacy in Congress for human rights and for autonomy in Tibet. I believe that freeing Tibet must mean more than just a slogan. A free Tibet is one in which the Tibetan people enjoy autonomy, self-governance, and the ability to practice their religion, language, and culture in peace. During my time in Congress, I am proud to have co-sponsored the Reciprocal Access to Tibet Act, which became law in 2018, as well as the Tibet Policy and Support Act, two pieces of legislation that defend the rights of Tibetans. And I will continue to champion the preservation of Tibetan liberties, language, and culture whenever I can. I am proud to serve a district that contains such a strong Tibetan American community, and I am grateful for the chances that I've had to learn from you how to best represent you and the issues that are so critical. I hope to do so with both strength and compassion. As His Holiness has said, compassion is the radicalism of our time. So once again, congratulations and best wishes for Seattle's 25th Tibet Fest.
Thank you, Congresswoman Jayapal, for those kind words. Okay, so that was a lot of greetings, but now on to the show. Per tradition, we will mark the beginning of Tibet Fest with the auspicious performance of Tashi Delek. This is a mass dance that's meant to ward off evil spirits and bring good luck to the audience. So we hope you enjoy our first performance.
Jam Pamela Jayapal chola tujiche na shu. Te Jesu sanju lobje gel harila tha. Tashi lobsu wa tundu doji la tha, wantu tashi lagi, tashi shoba lamu chapto nangyu. Tashi shoba tei gewar seshi samde lungi tube tente tsungi yu. Tei jesu tenzi shumbe lagi, shamse liu namla, inge kona tone tozimba nangire.
조수
2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 1
교제다 용도로고 너자 안노바타 세링 파도케 만도 아야로 다시 쇼바 세와데 다시 쇼바 양차베 다시 쇼바 담비 자와마와리 모체 총베 총윤의 예배 나이 아진자 자와라 마리 모체 차 최반이기 표사로 최반이기 따사 나무원데 아종고루 가베 토교와메 발하신게 쇼바다부 포강리에 가베 예고네 치메 다기 중원메 총낭두제 총회 나도 아야로 다시 쇼바 세와데 포장아 공가라베 가제 땡레바디네 냐람 바누고 뉴숨 바누고 세나웨 라주 켈라기 순수 타와라 간조야 야론 다시 셔바세와디 포장 공가라웨 가제 땡둘레바디니 밀라마 마마 누가 무슨 둔두라 바 누가 샤샤 마기 갸빌라 디고고 체민두페 세토 갸빌 메게 발레나 불레레 두고 sembo jani miga palenda bule yesu jurna ngazo ayaru tashi shoba sawade tu thalu alaga ari washington do sigbe phulne tu sa tu ki tazu rangje tangme ge kap thomne khongsa tamyu ge wa thamje kenje sigba chembu cho norli ke sa phoda ge city thombor shapsu lekma khune ngazo ayaru tashi shoba sawade norli ke sa phoda ge tingje kangla ya rapa ja singe chobe tashi no su do 가서
What a great first performance. Plarik Takpa is the lead performer, and he's joined by Ngodup Dorji and Ngodup Tashi. In this performance, Ngodup and Ngodup are actually some of our first students of our dance and cultural program, so we're so glad to have them on the stage again. Thank you, boys, and now on to our next performance. Next, we have a video from our Tibetan Language and Cultural School students. Tibetan Language and Culture School is our version of Sunday School, where many of our students learn about our culture and our language. They meet up every Sunday in Shoreline, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many of these classes have now moved to Zoom. So our students are really itching to get back and see many of their friends. But in the meantime, please enjoy this video.
Tashi Delek ngiming la tenzi chunzumi nga lo gui nga Seattle Washington la degi
Tashi Delek tenzi chonsom la kira sa nime lobda la pegi me
nga sa nima la tela degi
ani sa nime lobda nang la kira gashwe doji khari imbe
sa nima la tela la nga changma go ye 정모的적고 요래 아니 먼저 그게 이게 장아 요래 안도 먼저 쉐 타바 요래 쉐 장아 요래 백규 요래
아니 산이메 롭다 나로라 롭생 가르가르 정그래
당보 먼저 샨데 껴기를 달아 아니 먼저 겔로 당기래 아니 먼저 겔라든지 먼저 이유체하다 이일로하다 는 상관없기래 아니 대저랑 먼저 쉘라 먼저 상마 쉘라 추기래 아니 kuptera 먼저 쉐다 쉐땅하다 쉐타바다든지 장기래
아니 산이메 롭다라 아니 그런 도야라 대바다 돈이 줘야기 셈바낭로 레디 가르치는 데들에 산이메 롭다들 가르치는 그런 돈이 놓고도
산이메 롭다라 정모다 적보다 베베 장아도 쉐타바도 쉐땅아도 빼기우도 산이메 롭다라 산이메 롭다라
도체나 데지 좀라
대체나
Tashi Delek. Kira ming kari be?
Nga ming la tenzi moyi
Hale, tenzam la kira sanyi malapta la kari chang nang giyo.
Nga sanyi malapta la pui changa duye Nga peba yin sam pui changa peke chumudu
Hale, ani pe akure. Kira ingi lopta la shimba kari kan nang giyo.
Nga lapta la pui tam pegi yikshung changa duye And one thing that I don't learn inside normal school, like elementary school, is Tibetan. I don't learn Tibetan inside, like homeschool now.
Okay, Samaya, why is Tibetan Language and Culture School important?
Tibetan Language and Culture School is important so that I can learn about my language, culture, and music in a fun way.
And what do you like most about Tibetan Language and Culture School?
What I like most about Tibetan Language and Culture School is learning about the songs, music, and playing with all my Tibetan friends and doing all the fun activities.
Tashi Delek.
Kira
ming kari be?
Nga ming la tenzi dati
Hale, tenzi dati la kira sanyi malapta la karchini pegiyo.
Karshni pegi janga dugiye
Hale, ani pui jang che shimba kari kari nang giyo.
She tangiya ani she tapkiye
Hale, ani kira kibut be?
Kiyudu
Hale, ani kira she shingi be?
She chikshimi Nga ne pepe pomo lai Pepe pomo chunju lai
Tachena.
Thanks, kids. One way you can show your support to our Sunday school students is to purchase one of our 2020 Tibet Fest t-shirts. The t-shirts go for $25 and a little change for shipping and handling. but they go towards our Sunday school program and also to various resources for our community, which includes a vision to build our own community center. Where can you find the t-shirts? Great question. Just go to our Facebook page, Tibetan Association of Washington, click on the shop button, and you'll find various colors and sizes for the t-shirts. So we're hoping that you could purchase at least one to help us out. So we'll continue on with our show. It'll be our Tibetan Sunday school students again with a performance called Punda Chikdel, a song about unity. Thank you, children. Our students are taught by Larik Takpa. You probably saw him earlier. He was doing the Tashi dance. And he is a former member of the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, also known as TIPA. He's joined in our next performance by Sikyong Dr, another former member of TIPA, and they will be doing a performance called Nangme Toshe, which is a very popular song for parties and social events that dates back to the 16th century during the time of the great 5th Dalai Lama. Enjoy. Thanks, Lyric and Sidoka. You'll see more performances from the two later on in the program. Next up is our food feature, so we hope you're really, really hungry. We have a special guest today. Her name is Kiki, and she's the owner of Himalayan Dumplings. She owns a Tibetan-American restaurant in the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area. Today she shares some recipes on tsampa, a Tibetan staple, along with the background about how she got into cooking. So we're really excited about this program. We hope you guys are inspired by some of the recipes she shares today. So we hope you enjoy this tutorial.
Tashi Delek. Hi, my name is Kiki, and I'm a food content creator sharing Tibetan recipes, culinary stories, and Tibetan food history. Today, the video I'm going to show you is going to be for a recipe for an ingredient that's an integral part of the Tibetan cuisine as well as our cultural identity. But before I do that, let me share a little bit of the aspiration behind my culinary journey and my YouTube cooking channel. I didn't always look at Tibetan cuisine as a cultural preservation tool. In fact, as a new immigrant in the United States, I was very eager to assimilate and blend in as much as I could and rarely even ate Tibetan food in the beginning. My journey to celebrate Tibetan food representation only began upon motherhood, when I found myself gravitating towards Tibetan food to connect with and reassert my Tibetan identity. That desire to connect to my mixed daughters about their Tibetan side, using my cuisine as a gateway, it quickly evolved into food pop-up events because it allowed me to grow my efforts for cultural representation and preservation from my household to my local community. The response, the interest from my local community, it was overwhelming, and it's what encouraged me to grow my efforts even more to reach a global audience through social media, where I use visual storytelling to promote and preserve my Tibetan culture and heritage using food. You know, for me, food is a beautiful gateway to learn about other cultures. I love watching cooking and travel documentaries, and it's what inspired me to begin my YouTube cooking channel, where I can now own the narrative of my story and cultural identity as a Tibetan, and also help sow the seeds of cultural preservation along the way through my cooking as a Tibetan refugee and as an immigrant. So it really is a great honor to be here with you today in celebration of the 25-year anniversary of Tibet Fest and share with you a recipe that's very important to Tibetan cultural identity as well as our cuisine, tsampa. The first step for making a tsampa or roasted barley flour is to rinse a barley. Here I'm using pearl barley, which is one of the options that you'll find in the market. It has a shorter cooking time than the other options you may find. If you want a healthier option, you can go with the hull-less kind. So I'm rinsing my barley, and once I've rinsed, I'm going to soak this barley and have it soaked overnight. Alright, now that we've soaked the barley, we're going to remove any excess water that's left. Drain all the water, and then we're going to prepare and layer. Spread out the grains into a thin layer so that way it dries evenly and quickly. Yeah, spread out the grains. And then we're going to take it outside. If you have sunny days as we are having in Oregon, dry it out in the sun. It shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. That was Coco, my dog, by the way. So yeah, depending on the weather you have, use your discretion on when it's ready. Your goal is to make sure that the barley grains are damp, not wet, damp. Alright, the important part. Let's roast a barley. Let's make a tsampa. Turn on the stove on high heat and make sure your sand gets really, really hot. And you can toss around the sand a little bit to make sure that the heat is evenly distributed, because it's what's going to protect your barley from burning. Add the barley, and we're going to be stirring a whole lot for the next few minutes. Keep stirring so it doesn't burn. and the grain will start separating from the stand. You'll see, just like that, and you'll hear little popping sounds before you know it's ready. Gonna sift the grain from the sand, and you'll want to do this at least a couple of times to make sure you don't get any sand in your particles in your grain. Here's my favorite way to eat tsampa. We call it chamdu. Here are the ingredients to make chamdu. Starting off with changamu, or slightly sweetened milk tea, some tsampa, or roasted barley flour, butter, and this is chuship, a dry, crunchy, very unique Tibetan cheese made from the milk of a female yak. Start off with some tsampa, add some butter, of course, some chuship to give that nice bite to your chamdu, a little bit of sugar if you'd like to sweeten, and we pour our changamu to mix all the ingredients. There's a Tibetan instant porridge, so delicious. Anyway, keep adding the changamu until you achieve a porridge-like consistency. Here's the traditional Tibetan baby's first solid food, and still my favorite food as a mother. It really is delicious. This is my Belit Popula's favorite way of eating tsampa. We call it bak. Start off with some chapuja, or Tibetan buttered tea. You can use black tea if you want. Add some tsampa, or roasted barley flour. Gotta have the butter. Add some chuship, gives a nice bite to the ba as well. Then using your clean fingers, you mix around the ingredients. And unlike the chamdu, with the ba, you want a cookie dough-like consistency. Take a fistful and squeeze them into shape, yep, just like that. Traditionally, ba would be eaten as a substitute to rice, or to pale, bread that is. It might not look very appetizing, but it's very delicious with a nutty, slightly nutty flavor profile, and very nutritious and filling as well. It is typically paired with a meat radish stew like this, and some homemade sipping or hot sauce to dip the ba in. And of course, we have a ba ready. So here's a snapshot of a very traditional Tibetan meal with tsampa in it. Tuchana, and thank you so much for joining me in the 25-year anniversary celebration of Tibet Fest. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make tsampa and what tsampa means to Tibetans. If you are interested in learning further about Tibetan cuisine and culture, you're welcome to join me in my YouTube cooking channel, which is under the name Himalayan Dumplings. Thank you so much for watching, and you take care. Tuchana.
Tamba Zamba zamba punga songsi gabu kewa Saka dawa laya shachi saye guchi gonda Zamba sangi kamba posa tachi in the way Lega mega shady so ya nyeki lega in Lakba namla kanda kinsi zamba sangi ina Godi yuda DJ guchi shady goni tanda Lodi seda godi gada ona parchi gada Urdi game tada badu purdi nyene desha Suji sida peba shungi gyapla lene desha Tanda badu sana deyu punga pama pesha Madi keke chago me lotunga ye pesa Reta me akela milla kabi mere jesa Desa köki ari inne dose nganzu hasa Dokta chikti inda chikla dokti meda Namla doji shune.
Before we move on, we'd like to once again acknowledge our presenting partners and sponsors. Thanks again for your support. The various Zampa dishes look delicious. Thank you so much, Kiki. Now, you probably saw in the feature, Kiki is pretty prominent on social media, so you can follow her on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, under the name Himalayan Dumplings, where she shares various recipes and pictures of some of the foods she's cooking. Now, if you find yourself in the Portland metropolitan area, you can actually attend the Beaverton Saturday Market or the Portland Night Market, where you can actually try some of Kiki's food. All right, this next group consists of ladies from our community who are very passionate about Tibetan music and dance. Let's welcome the Trisung dance group to the stage as they perform Tamche Kempa.
Yeah.
How beautiful was that? Thank you, ladies. Next up, we have a brother and sister duo, Lego and Tensel Dontong, as they perform Darka Kusho, a song about youngsters going back to their different provinces in Tibet, while also singing and dancing about their love for apples, walnuts, and peaches.
Gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo do lochunga ni rangi chola lo do Tarta kushu kambu sum la gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo do lochunga ni rangi chola lo do Lochungani shikate la lodo meto jawe pumo de la gaga lochungani gata chola lodo te tu dembe sacha de la gaga lochungani lasa chola lodo shata marta shura sum la gaga lochungani yado yu solo Kushu kambu sum la gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo Tarka kushu kambu sum la gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo lochunga ni rangi chola lo Gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo do lochunga ni rangi chola lo do Tarta kushu kambu sum la gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo do lochunga ni rangi chola lo do Namche sum la gaga lochungani amde chola lo do pata lo ko shata sum la gaga lochungani kamki chola lo do tanor lukta dia sum la gaga lochungani khujo yi la lo do chata chibu kuyu sum la gaga lochungani meki chola lo do Kushu kambu sum la gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo Tarka kushu kambu sum la gaga lochunga ni rangi chola lo lochunga ni rangi chola lo
A wonderful performance from our youth. Thank you so much, Legel and Tensel. Up next, we have a group of friends from our community who learned this dance just for Tibet Fest. Please welcome the Cholsum Pomo dance group as they perform Mangri Pomo, a dance from the Amdo region of Tibet. Enjoy. Congratulations to Thomas and Tenzin Yishi. Thomas is attending Pomona College and Tenzin is attending Green River College Aviation. We wish them the best in their future endeavors. Next up, we have an interview with Made in Exile, a youth-led community arts initiative run by and for Tibetan youth to explore their stories about living in exile and growing up in the diaspora. The founders are based in Toronto, Canada, and they are Rinche and Tenzi Chimi, and they are joined today with our Tibet Fest coordinator, Tenzi Tsomola, where they do an interview via Zoom conference call about why they started this group.
Tashi Delek, welcome to the 25th anniversary of Seattle Tibet Fest. My name is Tenzin Tsomo and I'm a maker and textile designer based here in Seattle. And my guests today are Rinchen Dolma and Tenzin Chimi from Toronto, Canada. And we are going to be talking about their community arts program, Made in Exile. This conversation also highlights how artists as organizers and as facilitators can really impact the communities that they work with. And it's such a relevant topic in the context of the work we do for organizing Tibet Fest in partnership with Seattle Center. So I'm really looking forward to this chat. Rinchen, Chimi, Tuchina for being here. Before we get started, if you can please introduce yourselves to our audience.
Hello everyone, my name is Tenzin Chime. People also call me Tomo. I'm the admin director of Made in Exile. I was born and raised in Nepal, and I moved to Toronto in 2016.
I was born in Kathmandu, Nepal, but mostly grew up in Canada. So right now I'm based in Toronto, and I'm the founder and artistic director of Made in Exile.
Thank you. Rinchen, since you are the founder of Made in Exile, take us through how you started the program.
For so many years, I had this dream. I had this idea that that had me imagine a space just for Pebas to come together and make art. And this was at a time in my life where I was feeling really restless and urgently wanted our community to be seen. And I realized that for that to happen, they had to really be able to see themselves. And so I wanted that to happen in ways that were healthy, pushing boundaries, that was celebratory and inciting contemporary conversations. Because I'm a contemporary Tibetan, and the people I want to engage, who are my peers, are now the new generation of Tibetans living in exile, hence the name Made in Exile. So it was in university where I participated in a theater drop-in program called No Man's Land, which was in a largely immigrant Black community. And that's where I learned that you could create a space for people just to have fun together and create. And I wanted the same thing for us. And so in 2015, I applied for my first grant. It was called the Artreach Grant. And I made up a dream proposal, and I received my first pilot grant. And it was a great program for me because it was made for young people to get into the funding sector. So that's how I got started.
Very cool. It's always really inspiring to hear how people are able to materialize their dream projects. And I'm really happy you made yours happen, Rinchen, because Made in Exile has really opened up so many possibilities for young folks in Toronto. And that being said, Somo, you were one of the first participants of the program, right? And I'm curious how you found yourself joining the program.
I had been in the country for only about a few months when Rinchen told me about this theater program. This was her dream project, and she was talking about it so passionately, right? So I applied to the program, and I just wanted to, try something new, but also, meet other young Tibetans in the city. Now, when I look back, I think of how courageous I was to have applied to the program, because theater was something that I had never done before, right? And, like, when you move to a new country, especially to the West, because of the dominant narrative around global North and global South, I think it was inevitable for me to go through some sort of inferiority complex. But I guess, those first few months, that complex had not hit me yet.
I came to the US around your age too, Tomo, so I can relate to that. It's really cool that you were able to join the place like Made in Exile so early on during your time in Toronto. Either one of you can respond to this. Tell me a little bit about how the two of you work as a team.
I feel like for me, some of the strengths or the focus that I bring is largely on artistic direction, curation and design, community partnership building. And for Tsumo, she focuses largely on like financial management, administration, and actually together we work on outreach and facilitation. We practice accountability, and ultimately we work towards placemaking.
Something that stands out to me in the program, and this is in reference to a conversation that we've already had before, like the intentions of the participants and why they want to join a program like Made in Exile. They're not necessarily professional actors, or they aren't drawn to Made in Exile because it's a theater program, right? but it sounds small, like they have this need to want to tell the stories, to want to tell the lived experiences as it is happening. So I can imagine that you must already have an archive of really brilliant stories in your program. So can you share with us what are some of the themes that are explored by your participants?
We've had 4 cycles of our theater and storytelling program, and we've had such diverse stories emerge from our participants. So I'll just broadly cover a few of them. So in the context of identity, it's been in relation to language, inherited responsibility of the new generation, cultural appropriation and the Western gaze on Tibet. And when it comes to statelessness, we've touched on geopolitics, precarity, displacement, transnational families. And then more recently, we've touched on mental health, toxic masculinity, issues of alcoholism, and the process of grief and loss. And we've always had really powerful and creative women in our program. And so a lot of themes have been centered around motherhood, about historical female figures and women and how they labor.
I think in our community, there is this notion that, being in exile is a far more privileged place to be in, with, all the rights and freedom that we enjoy relative to our people inside Tibet. While that is undisputed, because of that kind of thinking, I think we tend to, not see our unique struggles in exile as real struggle, which is not true. So I'm so thrilled that, all these stories and themes have come up in our theater program.
Which brings me to your rug weaving program from last year. I love that though the program was very different from your past events, you were still able to incorporate the storytelling component from your theater programs. It was really exciting to see the participants get a chance to experience this really key facet of our oral craft tradition, and how the knowledge and the skills are passed down from one generation to the other, right? If you can share a little bit more about the weaving program.
Unlike our, theater and film programs that we have done in the past, the weaving program was, in its, truest sense, a completely Tibetan-powered program. Because, we had amazing mentors like yourself, Acha, who guided us through every step of the way. We had Ngodup Tsering, who built all the looms for the program and refused to take money. And then we had our, all the amazing amlas who not just taught us how to weave, but then taught us the entire process of how to make a carpet, right? So, we didn't need anything outside of ourselves for this program. And what that did was, showed us our potential as a community, right? But, this program was not just about the technical aspect of learning that skill, right? As you said, storytelling was a crucial part of the program, right? Our elders, they didn't just, have their skills to share, but also the stories, stories of their relationship with carpet making as a source of livelihood, right? And I think that in itself is a testament to their resilience in exile, right? Because, the carpet industry, it in itself, could be a chapter on how, our elders survived and thrived in exile, right? So, I think this program became a space where young and, older Tibetans came together and really saw each other and acknowledged each other's experiences, right? There was this, very beautiful moment at the community showcase for this program, where at the end of the event, we sat down for a sharing circle, and some of us shared, how grateful we felt as we heard our elders' stories and reflected on how far we have come as a community because of our elders' resilience and hard work and determination and all of that, right? And on the other hand, the elders were so happy and they were so proud that, the young folks valued their skills and knowledge and were like determined to connect with their roots by learning a traditional skill. So, it was a really emotional moment where, a lot of us were crying, and I think for me, that moment just summed up the essence of the program.
I only got to follow your textile program through your Instagram post, and it was really incredible. So I can imagine how moving it must have been to actually be in the same room with everyone, sharing their stories, and for the participants to show their final woven piece. So that must have been really amazing. Rinchen, I do want to ask you a question that ties to an early conversation that we were having about grants. And I'm wondering if you can share, in your opinion, how receiving grants for community arts projects such as yours adds another layer of accountability and growth versus, say, like a self-funded initiative.
I think what really sticks out to me in that question is actually about growth. Because I felt that our community is really overstretched and constantly fundraising within ourselves and having to operate out of scarcity. But here in Toronto, there are so many grants we can apply to. And all I did was, when I first started this, like go outside of our community, find resources that we are entitled to and bring them back into the community, and then decide for ourselves like how we're going to distribute that. And so for me, I felt like it was such a beautiful opportunity to have received this fund for an idea on behalf of the community, who are the real stakeholders of this idea. And so after getting those resources, like I now had the ability to distribute them. And what that looks like for us as Made in Exile is paying guest artists and ourselves as staff equitably, giving our participants a free program with an honorarium, and then also consciously buying from local businesses in Parkdale, so we're putting money back into the local economy, and ensuring that we work as hard as we can to get donations in kind so that we can actually beef up our budget lines to either pay people more or cover their travel, give them more kala. We really learned to be able to proudly put money into young people's hands, artists' hands, and community members' hands. And in terms of accountability, I'm accountable obviously to the funders because it's public tax dollar money, but also to like our participants who are our peers, who are our community members, the artists that we work with, to mentors and community advisors who support us throughout all this work. And so I'm accountable to our community members at large who come and witness the work that we create. So that made me really understand what it means to be accountable within a community context and see how all those things intersect.
Thank you for sharing that, Rinchen. I'm sure it'll be really useful for people that are just getting acquainted with applying for grants. But more than the process, I think for me is this conversation that we really need to be having on understanding accountability and how that allows for a very authentic and healthy growth, right? So those were all the questions that I have. Is there anything that we haven't covered and that you'd like to share?
So, from my work at Made in Exile, I've come to see how important it is for us to share and listen to the stories in our own community, right? We often talk about unity, and I think, a step towards achieving unity is, to listen to each other's stories, empathize, and, really understand that, yes, our experiences in exile are rooted at the colonization of our country, Tibet. But, also acknowledge that we have and we are going to have diverse experiences because of so many different reasons, right? So I just wanted to, stress on the importance of storytelling as a way for us to be healthy as individuals, so that, our families and our extended community members can can be well and can thrive together, right? And I think, that's what I mean when I see, storytelling as a catalyst for community building.
I would love for young people to understand how to create impact in a way that doesn't generate harm or drain ourselves, and also to do that through the worldview that we come from, which is indigenous to us as Pibas. There's a huge need to understand the value in oral tradition in our stories, as Somo has mentioned, especially in a contemporary context, because it is what will ultimately sustain us in our future. And I think that we are deeply intersectional people, but we just need to put it into practice. And storytelling is in itself a decolonial practice. And I think that we are a people who have experienced real scarcity, but have found powerful ways to thrive despite that. We don't have our land, but we do have our stories, and no one can take that away from us.
And on that beautiful note, we will end this conversation. Tuchina to both of you for spending time with me. And I'm really looking forward to continuing this conversation in person, hopefully at their Seattle Tibet Fest next year. And for those of you who would like to stay updated with their future residency programs, or would just like to get in touch with them, please give them a follow on Instagram and Facebook. It's at Made in Exile. Thank you. Tuchina.
Thank you, Tenzi Tomola, for conducting the interview, and thank you to Rinche and Tenzi Chimi for sharing their stories. That was amazing. Now, Tomola is actually the engine behind Tibet Fest, so we really thank her for all the contributions she's made this year. Now we welcome back our Sunday school students for a performance they call Doshe Dawe Shunu. This is a traditional Tibetan song that showcases both vocal and Tibetan instrumental skills. The instruments featured in the song is a damye, which is a Tibetan guitar. The song is performed by Tsundula and a couple of his classmates playing the various instruments, so we hope you enjoy this song. Next up, we welcome back Klarik and Sidokar as they perform Dangsongla, a traditional Tibetan circle dance. They are joined on stage by 3 other performers. Circle dances, also called gorshes, are quite common at social gatherings and are performed towards the end of events. Dancers form a tight-knit circle with each of their arms stretched out and locked together to form a strong human chain. Though it's strange to witness a circle dance without any close contact, we hope you are up on your feet and gorshing with us. That was beautiful. Thank you again to the performers for sharing some of these traditional dances. Now please welcome Guzi and Gesar Nanglo, two more of our Sunday school students, as they are joined by their father, Tenzi Tarkela, as they sing a song called Mendo Lani Ninse Memba. Enjoy this family-friendly song.
This song is composed by a friend of mine, Genzela. It is a Tibetan romantic song that describes young love as the same pull as bees to flowers.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Tenzi Tarkela, a former executive member of the Tibetan Association of Washington and also a volunteer at our Sunday school where he teaches many of our children some of these songs. So that was a great father, son, daughter combo. Next up, we have Gesang Amye, who's back again at Tibet Fest to share a presentation about Tibetan clothing and jewelry. This year, her virtual presentation will be on contemporary Tibetan bridal dresses, also known as chupas. The construction of the Tibetan chupa has remained unchanged for centuries. However, in the last 5 decades, changes in lifestyle and living conditions have led to several modifications in this contemporary silhouette, especially in these bridal dresses. Gesang will take us through this beautiful textile journey. So we hope you enjoy this exciting presentation.
Hello, Tashi Delek. My name is Gesang. Welcome to 25th Anniversary of Tibet Fest in Seattle, Washington. Every year, I'm so thrilled and excited to be part of this beautiful, beautiful festival. This year, we brought you a glimpse of Tibetan bridal dresses. I hope you all enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
de na city mettre sit yana garçon mettre de yana bonjo mettre de na ngazo baby bomore yana kiss de mare yon kon karong gami en de mano ki mare yon tchko mori de na ngazo baby bomo senti hikaya morison de na ngazo bomo kiss de ma hikala trian mon de na bomo senti per bomo ngazo rison dana siji meter si yana garson meter nje yana bonjo meter dana ngazo baby bomole yana hisji mare yon kor karong dami yanji mano himari yon tching mori dana ngazo baby bomo senji hikayang mori son dana ngazo bomo hisji ma hikalong triang mon dana bomo senji ber bomo ngazo rison dana siji meter si yana garson meter nje yana bonjo meter dana ngazo baby bomole yana hisji mare yon kor karong dami yanji mano himari yon tching mori dana ngazo baby bomo senji hikayang mori son dana ngazo bomo hisji ma hikalong triang mon dana bomo senji ber bomo ngazo rison mettre de na city mettre si yana garçon mettre de yana bonjour mettre de na ngazo baby bomole yana kiss de mare yon kor karong dami yan de mano himari yon ching komori de na ngazo baby bomo senti hikayang morison de na ngazo bomo kiss de ma hikalang triang mon de na bomo senti ber bomo ngazo rison
We'd like to acknowledge our presenting partners, Seattle Center Festal, Art Fund, For Culture for their amazing support. And we'd also like to thank our platinum and gold sponsors for making Tibet Fest possible.